What is Mega Evolution and does it actually hurt the Pokemon? Or more importantly, what exactly happens to the Pokemon trainer during the Mega Evolution process? These are two Pokemon questions that have been keeping me up at night, so what better way than to find a way to sleep than to answer them? And I decided to look through all the information I could find on the internet as well as reading Pokemon X and Y in the manga. This granted me so much new information that I actually never knew before, and now I'm going to give you a breakdown of everything I've learned in order to answer these basic questions as well as explain everything we know about Mega Evolution. So the first question we needed to ask was, what is Mega Evolution? It is a temporary evolution Pokemon can undergo by the use of megastones. This evolution allows the Pokemon to rapidly evolve within seconds, changing their appearance, increasing their stats, even changing their whole type in general, and attitude, granting them profound new power. We also know that not all Pokemon are able to Mega Evolve, due to the need for specific criteria to be met in order for this process to happen. Now that we have a summarized rundown on what Mega Evolution is, we dive even deeper into question number 2, which is what exactly is a megastone? This stone itself is very rare. In the Pokemon world itself, it states that these megastones initially started off as evolutionary stones, such as the Thunderstone, Leaf Stone, or Ice Stone. So the question is, what exactly caused this transformation of the evolutionary stone into the megastone? Well, that transformation would be caused by the two legendary Pokemon we find in X and Y, Xerneas and Yveltal. The amount of radiation these two released caused a massive surge of transformations in the evolutionary stones across the continent, causing megastones to form. Which basically means these megastones seem to be a nuclear reactor in themselves. The amount of energy and radiation within them is nearly infinite. And when that energy is activated, it's able to course through the Pokemon, allowing it to envelop them and transform them into a new temporary form. From here, the next question is pretty obvious. Why exactly is Mega Evolution temporary? And the reason for that is pretty simple. As we know with Pokemon, after they fight, battle, or survive in the wild, they gain experience. And this experience culminates in energy building up within them. When this energy reaches a certain point, the Pokemon will begin to feel an urge within them. And this energy will suddenly start to burst through their pores, causing the glow that we know. And as the energy overflows this Pokemon, they will begin the evolutionary process and transform their body into something greater. Now, this amount of energy that they build up within their body is not harmful and is well within the limits for the Pokemon to handle for the evolutionary process, which allows for the perfect balance which causes this evolutionary form to be permanent. But with Mega Evolution, as we just covered, the amount of radiation that is stored within this megastone is basically that of a nuclear reactor. That is high amounts of unnatural energy that, when introduced to the Pokemon of the right DNA compatibility, overwhelms the Pokemon instantly, forcing them to evolve another time. And this energy is not within the safe boundaries of the body. And due to the overwhelming energy, the body cannot maintain or stabilize it, which can actually cause a lot of pain to the Pokemon and in certain cases can be life-threatening if they stay in this form too long. For example, look at Houndoom. When Houndoom Mega evolves, one thing is very distinctive in its transformations. Its claws change from the same white bone-like color of its horns to a dark red, unlike anything else in its color palette. And in the Pokemon entry for Ultra Sun, it explains this is due to the high internal temperatures sparked by the transformation, and these claws actively melt as Houndoom exists in this form. You also have Scizor as another example for this. When Scizor Mega evolves, the evolution takes on such excess amounts of energy in its metallic's body that it starts to melt from within. So if Scizor stays in this form long enough, Scizor itself will be unalived. So I think this is a good example to show that Mega Evolution is actually painful, but it all really depends how that Pokemon's body reacts to this unnatural energy entering the body, causing this evolution. And with that being said, in order to balance back out the Pokemon, after the energy stops flowing, it immediately reverts back to its previous form, allowing the body to become stable again. And that is why the form is temporary. Now we go on to the next question, which is what exactly is the effects of the Mega Evolution on the Pokemon trainer themselves? Now, as we know for Mega Evolution, the Pokemon needs to hold the Megastone while the trainer holds something called a Keystone, which is like a little version to the Megastone themselves. The Pokemon trainer must now activate the Keystone, which synchronizes the both stones, allowing for the Mega Evolution process to activate. And as we have just covered, we know the effects of Mega Evolution on the Pokemon. And as for the trainer, in the Pokemon manga X and Y, when Mega Evolution occurs, the trainers are under such mental distress that they're only able to focus on one task, and that task is the battle in front of them. Anything else is near impossible, due to the bond they hold with their Pokemon as well as activating the Keystone. Now this also means that if the Pokemon trainer is not mentally strong, they will be driven insane or even worse, which is another reason why this transformation has to be temporary. Now, as I continued gathering information, another question popped up in my mind. is there any Pokemon in the Pokemon universe that can actually Mega Evolve without the use of a megastone? And the answer to that is Rayquaza. Rayquaza can become Mega Rayquaza. And the reason for this is pretty simple. According to the notes from the Devon Corporation in the Pokemon universe, they state that inside Rayquaza there is a specific organ that when given the right fuel becomes an internal megastone. And the fuel for this energy is meteorites. So when Rayquaza is in space, all he has to do is continue eating meteorites to gain the energy needed. And when he finds himself in a situation where he's required to use this power, all he has to do is activate Dragon's Ascent and he will instantly transform into Mega Rayquaza. Now with all this information we've gathered so far, did you also know that there are only 2 Pokemon in existence that can actually Mega Evolve into 2 different versions, an X and a Y version? And those Pokemons are Mewtwo and Charizard. Now we don't have an exact reason for this, however, I'm going to give a little theory as to why. And first we're going to start off with Charizard. The reason I think Charizard is able to evolve into 2 different forms is simply because due to Mega Evolution, the toll on his body is not as much as it would be for other Pokemon. Because when you watch his Mega Evolutionary forms, the transformation is not really that different from his original form. Unless you consider X, it really just changes the color of his flames and the color of his skin. Now Mewtwo is a whole different story because Mewtwo himself is a created Pokemon, and the fact that there is more Mewtwo's out in the world now is really unsettling to note, as we don't exactly have an answer to how this is even possible. Did people steal the plans and create more Mewtwo's, or did the original Mewtwo find a way to reproduce himself? And Mewtwo himself being a powerful and unique Pokemon, I'm pretty sure he was able to either manipulate his genes himself, or if we go with this next idea about Mr. Fuji actually programming this in the DNA of Mewtwo. And the reason I say that is because in Pokemon Origins, coming down to the end, we see that Mr. Fuji actually gives Red a box. In this box is a Megastone and a Keystone. And we also know that Mr. Fuji himself is the one who created Mewtwo and did a whole bunch of things in the Pokemon world. So maybe Mr. Fuji actually programmed this into Mewtwo to ensure this would be the most powerful being in existence. Now again, this is just me giving my own theories as to why Mewtwo and Charizard are able to Mega Evolve into 2 different forms. Now the final thing we needed to answer here is why is it that only certain Pokemon are actually able to Mega Evolve? I think it's safe to say when the evolutionary stones were irradiated and transformed, it was all by luck. There was no real plan into action. Somehow when they transformed, they were able to particularly be compatible with certain Pokemon's DNA. Maybe the Pokemon were close by when they were transforming, which is why they can now be used for that specific Pokemon, or the randomness of it all just happened to coincide and work with specific types. I honestly don't think it's deeper than that. I think it was all by random chance. And with that, we've covered every single thing I could think of when it comes to Mega Evolution. I hope this video helps you. So my question to you is this: what is your favorite Mega Evolution? Mine is obviously Mega Rayquaza.